Stephen Sommers hates extras, and it made me laugh because he just kept pointing out all the extras he disliked, and there's some extras they disliked so much they would put flies in front of their face because they would keep looking at the camera, or they would darken out their eyes, which cost them a ton of money. And he just kept complaining, and then the editor, I guess, they had to work around it. You know, that torture scene in the beginning when they were torturing Imhotep and all of his priests, the extras couldn't hit their marks. Now, it's a tough job. I mean, you're not an actor, and you're asked to act. So if you've never done it before and you're told to hit marks, it's tough. You're nervous. You're on a massive set. But I've also worked with thousands of extras, and I was kind of getting flashbacks to Stephen Sommers yelling about them because you get extras who don't move their hands when they walk. They pantomime like they're a fish underwater. You know, fish kind of go, blop, blop. Like that's how they talk when they're pantomiming. They push each other down to get in front of the camera. They always fight for camera space. So, yeah, that brought back some things. But if you watch the movie, you'll see some extras who have been covered with flies over their face, or their eyes have been blacked out because they kept looking at the camera. So that cost them a lot of extra money.
That's so petty.
And then you know what I love, too, is back in the day, you know, ILM did this, Industrial Light and Magic. And so what they found out, were the editor and Stephen Sommers, Industrial Light and Magic, they give you 5 free frames in the beginning and 5 free frames after the shot. So they would plan to get those 10 free frames per shot. So they'd be like, yeah, this is our shot right here. But then they would get the frames for free. So they would film it. This is what we need. And then they knew Industrial Light Magic would cover the 5 frames at beginning and end. So they got a ton of free frames from Industrial Light and Magic by taking advantage of their 5 free frames policy.
Good for them.
Isn't that funny though?
Yeah, it is.
So they were like, oh, okay. So we like they planned. They knew how expensive it was, and I guess in the beginning they had massive fights over the warrior mummy, which I think work.
I read about this.
They work brilliantly, but they had like producers like, you're not doing it. And he's like, I'm doing it. You're not doing it. I'm doing it. They had arguments like there will not be warrior mummies, and then Stephen Sommers won out.
Yeah. But wasn't it supposed to be a giant warrior statue? No, originally.
I never heard him say that. I kept hearing I think he maybe wanted more because I just didn't hear that in the commentary. That's the thing.
Yeah, I read that at the end of the movie, there was supposed to be a giant statue brought back to life, and instead they used mummies because they're easier to create than like a giant CGI statue, Colossus walking around.
And I love the behind the scenes footage of Brendan Fraser swinging at nothing. And then, so during Brendan Fraser's commentary, he just kind of makes a lot of chuckles and a lot of little jokes and quips. But he kept making fun of Arnold Vosloo because Arnold Vosloo had to do he wore like jorts around on set. And then he had a Speedo. And then they would put these like back in the day, the motion capture wasn't where it was. And so he would have to be on frame acting everything out. And then they would take him out and shoot another plate with him, nothing in there. But the scene where they show him the cat and he spins into a whirlwind, or in a sandstorm or whatever, sand tornado in the room. Yeah, Brendan Fraser was just saying that Arnold Vosloo had his hands out and he was just spinning in a circle. So here is Brendan Fraser watching Arnold Vosloo spin in a circle in I guess a Speedo. And then they took him out and filmed that scene. That's where 99 technology was.
It's a long day.
Yeah,
so I wanted to circle back to something we were talking on a little bit. So we mentioned that 99 was a really good year for us, probably because we were 16 and 17. One of the things that I have read in the last couple of years is an argument that 1999 is actually the best year for film and that it is better than 1939. And generally, film scholars think that 1939 is the year of like the peak of Hollywood.
Well, because that's what
Gone with the Wind.
Gone with the Wind. What about Wizard of Oz? When was that year?
1939.
Yeah, okay. So Gone with the Wind, Wizard of Oz. Oh, yeah, Stagecoach. Yeah, I mean, Wuthering Heights, Angels. Oh, yeah. Gosh. Yeah, I mean, there's some stacked movies here, but, I mean, Stagecoach, Mad Max Fury Road, you know, he drew a lot of inspiration from Stagecoach.
Yeah.
And you can't mess with Wizard of Oz and Gone with the Wind. But now, you know, all right, so I don't know if you know this, but I was interviewed for Wired in 2017 by a guy named Brian Raftery, and he just released a book last year about it called Best Movie Year Ever, about the movies of 99. And he did a whole, yeah, it's a great book. Listen, guys, go buy it. Support the dude. He's awesome. He helped me a lot. Yeah, but he made an argument about all the films of 99 and the way they hit. I mean, Fight Club, Matrix, Blair Witch, Being John Malkovich, Sixth Sense. I mean, Office Space is still around. Phantom Menace, Magnolia, Eyes Wide Shut. Like, remember the fervor just around all of these? Iron Giant, dude. I mean,
yeah. Yeah.
99 was the year where Notting Hill did 250 million. In 99, Julia Roberts had Notting Hill and Runaway Bride. Those are gigantic films. And Straight Story. I mean, Galaxy Quest? I mean, come on.
Do you know what the highest grossing movie of 99 was? Just so we can compare it to The Mummy? Because I didn't even think to look this up. We're going way afield of the script.
Oh, so actually I have, if you guys, well, I guess, yeah, so I got, if you go to, never mind. I've just been doing a lot of research about this. If you go to Rotten Tomatoes, they're going to do a summer blockbuster tournament soon. And I did a bunch of the research for it and put the movies together. So if you go there and check it out, you can vote on the best summer blockbusters since 76. But I believe that it is, let me look by year.
I just looked it up.
It's Phantom Menace, correct?
It has to be. Yeah, it has to be. I should have known that just looking at it. It's in Phantom Menace.
Wow. It is. Yeah, it's got to be.
The Mummy was the 6th highest grossing movie that year, which blows my mind, first off, because it is a big movie that inspired 2 direct sequels and an entire world of other stuff.
So it influenced. All right, so get this. You have The Mummy, and then you have The Mummy Returns, and then you have a prequel, The Scorpion King, and then you have a prequel, The Scorpion King 2, and then you have another prequel to that, and then you have another prequel, and then that was a success, so they made a sequel. That's how far. Yeah, so with inflation, Phantom Menace pulled in 846 million, which is gigantic. But I think, okay, call me crazy here. That's 846 million. That's very impressive. But for The Mummy, I mean, Brendan Fraser was hot at the time, but Sommers was coming off of Deep Rising. That wasn't necessarily the biggest movie, but for this film to pull 300 million, that's a giant opening for, I guess, what's essentially a remake, but it's not really a remake.
A reinterpretation?
There we go. Reboot?
Yeah.
I mean,
this was yeah.
Oh, go for it.
That was around the time where I felt like this movie came out, and then all the studios were like, oh, you know what? We're going to reinvent, reinterpret, reimagine all of these monster movies, these Universal monster movies. Because there was there was Hollow Man, which we spoke about.
Dracula 2000.
Dracula 2000. Yeah, absolutely. Van Helsing came out a couple years later.
Oh, that movie.
Yeah, but there's also like the Robert De Niro stuff and the Bram Stoker one.
Oh,
so there's
yeah, you're right.
And Bram Stoker. So like we were like, as a fan of Universal monsters, of classic monsters, I was living at like peak reinterpretation.
Yeah.
like for like a 5-year period, I was like, I am having the best movie life ever.
And this one, and I guess what this one did that, I mean, Bram Stoker is a marvel of mood and production design.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have Dracula 2000, which is basically just Gerard Butler's hair. That's all I remember.
Screaming in space.
Screaming in space. And you have Hollow Man, which is Verhoeven kind of light, not Verhoeven heavy. Ver light, not Ver heavy. But this one, yeah, it took the elements of Boris Karloff, but then it also took Indiana Jones and just smushed them together. And it did it really successfully, I would say. And Brendan Fraser, man, that dude, he's so good in this movie. Yeah. He's huge.
He is huge. He's beefy.
Yeah.
So I would argue that this film really led into the new generation of action adventure movies, because I think here's just a couple of films that I think are associated with this type of stuff. Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Lara Croft, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I think National Treasure doesn't exist without this film. I'm trying to think of a couple other ones. G.I. Joe clearly is associated with it because of the director. That's the same director. Mm-hmm. But it's not quite the same feel.
No. Both are big, loud. But this one's more earnest. Mummy's more earnest and old-timey, purposely, I think. And then G.I. Joe is more of an attempt to be modern. So the vibe is different.
Yeah. That's really interesting. How would you rank this series compared to the Pirates of the Caribbean and Lara Croft?
All right, so I gotta be honest. So I remember I've watched the second one a couple times, and I don't know if you guys ever get bored. I wrote a cracked article called 5 Poignant Moments in Cheesy Action Films. The only part I really like about Mummy 2 is when Imhotep sees the love of his life, Anck-su-namun, run away from him, and he just throws himself into the equivalent of Egyptian hell. But just the acting he does right then and there. I felt like Mummy 2 was a bit of a rehash of the first one, even though I like Rachel Weisz action hero. And then the third one, I think I have such fond memories of because the Maria Bello casting is weird. But that was really weird. But I saw it in Korea with a bunch of my Korean friends. And so you just have a fun night out in a different country with a bunch of different people. And does that make sense? So that's why I look at it so good. But I would give the Pirates, as far as cultural relevancy, I'd put Pirates ahead of it and Tomb Raider below it. That was a long-winded answer.
Yeah, I think you're about right. Though in total, I like the Mummies movies better than the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. I think the pirate movies are overly bloated.
Oh, I'm with you. And I think, you know what's weird about me with the Pirates movies? I love, when I'm watching the second, I can't watch the fourth, it's terrible. And the fifth one, I don't think when I think about them later, I like them more. But then when I'm watching them, like, this is a lot. This is a lot of movie. Like, this is, yeah. Does that make sense?
I'm here for action, and there's a lot of everything else.
I mean, I love the production design, though. I love spending time with peak Johnny Depp before he, kind of pulled a Chevy Chase and became too Johnny Deppy, or too Chevy Chasey. If you know what I mean about Chevy Chase, he had those hit movies and then every other movie.
I do.
So I could watch. All right, if someone sat me down and said which three could you watch the most, it would be The Mummy. But I got to go with Curse of the Black Pearl because, man, I was obsessed with that movie. I love that movie. I love The Mummy, but I don't know. All right, of the 3 Mummy movies, and let's just count the core trilogy of Pirates.
Yeah.
Now, Pirates 4 is the worst of all. So there's 8 of these movies. I would say Pirates 4 is the worst. But of the core trilogy, Tomb of the Dragon Empire is probably the least good. Or do you not agree with that?
No, I completely agree. I think in the Mummy trilogy, it literally goes Mummy, Mummy Returns, Dragon Empire. It's just like it's diminishing returns each time.
Yeah.
And the first two, the Mummy and the Mummy Returns, are actually pretty high. I think they're good movies. And then the Dragon Emperor one is middling.
Yeah. I mean, there's Yetis in it, though, so that can't be all bad. I do love me some Yetis.
With the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, I really like the first one, and I like bits and pieces of the second and third one.
I mean, there's stuff there to love.
Oh, there is, but it's just so it's so twisty. You're like, who's on whose side, who's doing what, and I remember reading a review, and I'm sure it was a Robert Ebert review at the time, and he was just like, you know who the good guys are, you know who the bad guys are, so it does all these twists and turns, you know where it's going to end at the end, so just sit back and relax.
Oh, that's
and I can't do that though. I was like, I can't. Like I know I should know that all these guys are going to come out on either A or side B, but I couldn't.
What I like about the Pirates movies is the second one, I think, was a departure from the first one. It had some of the beats, but it went epic. And the second Mummy, The Mummy Returns, it has the Dwayne Johnson CGI, which is really bad. But it doesn't feel like as much of a swing as the second Pirates.
No,
so I kind of got to give it to the Pirates trilogy. And I like 5 because they're zombie sharks. Those are so cool. It's just, yeah, it swung. Gore Verbinski walked up to the plate with a tree, not a baseball bat, and just, hacked, swung as hard as he could. And I think Johnny Depp jumping into the Kraken, a couple of the sword fights, it was an epic scale, but it was bloated. Yeah. It was that's what happens. All right, Pirates was such a massive success. Disney just opened up their bank account. And I think that might have hurt the Pirates movies a little too much because they had so much money. And The Mummy, if you account for inflation, not account, but when their budget was $70 million when they made this film. That's what Sommers said. That's not much in 99. Deep Rising cost more than that, I believe. So they did a lot with little in Mummy, and they made it seem epic in scope.
Yeah. I guess you're thinking about it. They're like, we got to revive at this point, 40 or 50-year-old franchise for Universal. So we're not going to put too much money into it.
Yeah. And it works. And I like that. So Oded Fehr, he's a tall guy. He's about 6'1", But Brendan Fraser and Brendan Fraser and Arnold Vosloo are 6'3",